I've been teaching recruitment for a very long time, and I've worked with chapters that have gone from 5 to 30 in a semester, from 20 to 60, worked with chapters that have gone from 50 to 120 in a year. I've worked with entire fraternity communities that have grown by over 50% in a year. And all of this success is because I'm great. No, it's because, thank you. I see Monty from Western smiled at that. I honestly, I teach you basic things. And if you do them, they work. It's like when someone said, hey, you want to get good grades? Go to class. You're like, oh, wow, go to class. Yeah. Hey, you want to get good grades? Then I don't know, buy your books and read them. Hey, wow, great ideas. I teach the equivalent of that, but you actually have to do it. So again, type in what school you go to in the chat log. That'll help me. If you're having trouble typing, those are the letters that are going across that keyboard. You just push them in the right order and you'll be good. So a few things to think about as we're talking about growth and recruiting. A few things to think about. There are two basic reasons. I've worked with chapters, thousands of chapters on hundreds of campuses. There are two basic reasons that you should evaluate how you're recruiting and see if you need to change it. One, you're not at your chapter's ideal size. You're not your chapter's ideal size, whatever that is. You could decide that ideal size is 50 or 150. None of my business. I'm not your district governor anymore. I'm not from nationals, whether the car rental place or the national fraternity at Richmond, Virginia. All right, your choice. But if you have a house and you have beds that need to get filled, well, then that's a number that is involved in that ideal size. But if you're not at and maintaining that ideal size on a regular basis, that's a problem with recruiting. One reason. The other reason to evaluate your recruiting, and you may have problems, and it's worth really evaluating whether we need to fix how we recruit. The second reason is if you've ever looked at one of your brothers and thought, whoops. If you've ever looked at a chapter brother and thought, what the hell were we thinking? Who did this to us? Can we trade him to Delt for a draft pick in 2 years? Or trade them to Pike for a big bag of silverware? If you've looked at brothers and regularly thought that, it's because you recruited poorly. And so many chapters throw shit against the wall and hope something good sticks. And they do the bait and switch and find guys who are like, yeah, it's going to be sick, good joy. And then wonder why they only show up for fun things. True recruitment is not about putting on rush events. Rush is passive. They come to us. Recruitment is active. And it's about people. Specific people. And I like to say persons. Rush is just about people. Recruitment is about persons. Specific men that'll make our brotherhood great. And you know them. And our goal is to help them understand what we're truly about so they can't consider the rest of their life without being a brother. But the problem is we get into sales mode. And we try to come up with every possible reason to convince them they should, but it's not a convincing thing. When a guy looks around and he sees the men that he respects and wants to hang out with are brothers, and those guys are smart enough to ask him to join, he does. Recruitment is about people. People join people and the organization follows. And as much as I love Sigma Phi Epsilon, and I do, quite honestly, if Ken Brown at University of Maryland, if he were a Delta Sig, I'd be a Delta Sig. That's just the way it happens. People recruit people. Most of you, and I'll bet you, go ahead, and this is where we're still looking, type it in the chat log. Who is the most influential reason you're a Sig Up today? What's that guy's name? Because I'll bet you can think of one or maybe two guys. Type it in. Who is that? These are people that just made you feel comfortable. They remembered your name. They made you feel like a part of the group. That's recruiting. People join people, which means we need to get further and further away from rush, where guys just show up to eat your food. We need to get further away from what most fraternities think rush is. It boils down to 3 words: stalk the freshman. Stalk the freshman. Help them move in. I touched your stuff. Now join. Freshman, I will feed you. Now join. Ridiculous. We need to start looking at specific people and create a strategy to get our brothers to be the reasons why they join. The good news is there are no rules that can restrict us from doing this. The good news is there's no COVID guidelines that would prevent us from successfully recruiting and getting the men that should be our brothers. It's just working differently. And so the key aspect of this that helps us stay under COVID guidelines and makes it more effective is a team-based structure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out this basic understanding of how we go sniper, not buckshot, how we recruit specific people and do it successfully over and over and over again, all in small groups that are more effective, more efficient. We get to know them better and they get to know us better. You say whoops a lot fewer times because we know these guys and we know they're the right guys. Team structure is pretty simple concept. 1 out of every 5 guys, 1 out of every 5 guys. And if you go to RPI, you can figure out the math. That's 20%. There you go. 1 out of every 5 is 20%. So figure out what 20% of your chapter is. That's the number you need to figure out. So Brian, Patrick, you got to be wary of guys with 2 first names. They're sketchy. They usually have bodies buried somewhere. Brian, Patrick, what's 20% of your chapter? Round up to the next whole number. Unmute and tell me.
I'm not a big math guy, but I believe it's 20% of our chapter is 40 guys.
Okay. I don't know if you're right or wrong anyway, so let's just go with it. You need to think, if 20% is 40 guys, you need to think of who they are. This position is a great mid-level management. It's not the person on exec. It's someone that used to be an exec board member. You want to keep involved because they don't suck. It's someone you're grooming to be an exec board member that you know will be great because it's a reasonable job, but it's for someone who is dependable. It's the most important thing. I'm a team captain. I got 4 people on my team. I'm dependable. My job, once a week, once every other week, I get the 4 of us together, the 5 of us together, I get them together with me and a couple guys off our wish list, and we do something fun. That's it. My job are these small group activities that happen on the regular basis. It's the best brotherhood activities that you can have. Brothers, I always hear brothers tell me, our fraternity, it's tighter than we ever were. We're the tightest fraternity on campus. We're the tightest fraternity. We are the best brotherhood. I always hear that bullshit. I used to work with our chapter at Temple University. These guys were dumber than a box of rocks. I'm like, we're the best fraternity on campus. Really? Why are you the best fraternity? We're the best. We have the tightest brotherhood. Really? Bullshit. Prove it. Measure it. Come on, tell me how many brotherhood tightness units you are more than the pikes around the corner. Give me a BTU rating of your chapter. Let's hear it. But look, we build our brotherhood in small groups, having fun. So I'm in charge of 4 guys. Honestly, we have a draft. I go through in the first round, I pick Brian Ash. Why? Because he's got that cool 70s mustache. All right, I pick him, and he's my big, and we're sweet. Then I don't know about James. He's hiding behind the mask, but I'm going to pick him anyway because he knows a ton of guys. He was involved on campus. He's going to make our team great. Now we're down to the bottom half of the chapter. Tony was that treasurer who's now just bitter. He hates everybody. He's like, I hate you. Walking through the house, I hate you. I hate you. But you know what? He's someone I can count on. And then Tyler. Oh, shit. Tyler's on our team. Damn it. But that's the way the draft works. You end up not having one group of the guys that are terrible be a team. They get spread out. So my team, we get together once every other week and do something fun with some guys on the wish list. I, as team captain, guess what? I meet with the other team captains before every chapter meeting, or at least every other week, and we talk about, hey, what's going on with this guy? What's going on with that guy? We make sure Brian's doing his job, and James is doing his job, and Tony's doing his job. And since Tyler's not doing his job, we beat him in his sleep with reeds. I'm kidding. Don't do that. But we hold them accountable. Clear, measurable levels of accountability. And these teams, smart chapters, actually in their chapter meeting will break into their teams and talk about potential members. What's going on with this guy? What's going on that one? Not people who. Rush is for people who, guys that have good grades. Recruitment is about Jake, because Jake's going to make our fraternity great. And maybe Chris, but I'm not sure. That's what recruitment is about. Specific people. And it's better to take 10 or 15 minutes in your chapter meeting, and especially now with Zooms, it's so damn easy to go into a breakout room, 10 or 15 minutes, talk about specific people. What's it going to take to get Jake to join? Well, he's worried about his parents are worried. Really? My parents were worried. I'll bet you if I got my mom to talk to his mom, boom, because now my mom's the biggest convert. How do we make that happen? They strategize and you win. Teams are the key. And guess what? They fit under any 10-person guideline. So instead of Thursday night, let's have this big ass recruitment event. Everyone in our teams goes out and does something different. Simple, accountable. And quite honestly, it makes the biggest impact in guys that probably never wanted to join to never thinking they could go on without joining. I wanted to give a basic understanding of teams, and we're going to come back to that. But there are 3 simple buckets you can look at your chapter's issues. And if you're recruitment chair and you're doing your job, at some point or another, you hate your brothers. They just piss you off, okay? And you're willing to take an honest assessment of where your chapter is. So think about what is your strongest and what is your weakest area of these three areas: motivation, organization, and skills. Motivation. How easy is it for you to get the average brother, not 1, 2, 3 guys, not the guys who would pick his team captains, but the average brother to meet with some guy for lunch just by asking them? Motivation. How motivated are your brothers across the board in being involved in taking effort to become the reason why someone joins? Organization. How organized are you in managing leads, putting leads into the funnel, making sure that they're tracked? So if anytime, if I'm a team captain in charge of a guy, at any time you ask me and you're in charge of recruitment, I know what's going on with this guy. How organized are your efforts? And the last area is skills. Can your brothers talk to people? Can they describe how SIGEP's made them a better man? Can they talk about the Balanced Man Project in an exciting and inspiring way? Do they have the skills to communicate what we're about effectively? Motivation, organization, and skills. So first, type in the chat log, what is your strongest area? Motivation, organization, or skills? First, type that in, and then comma, what is this least strength? Where is your least strength as an organization? Motivation, organization, skills. Strongest, then comma, weakness. Let's see. This is the interactive part of the program where you'll type into the chat log. There we go. Now we're seeing organization. Okay. Good. Good. It's easier to start to frame your questions around either doubling down on what areas of strength that you know will have a big impact, or even more, what are the areas of weakness within that motivation or organization or skills, the areas of weakness that we could tweak to improve that would have that biggest difference? So this is the part of our program where we'll start going into questions. So this, again, interactive. You can type it in or you can mute it. Like if Brian from Youre at Wazoo, you're Kook, go Cougs, if even he could figure out how to unmute his microphone, I'm sure, Wazoo, come on. I'm sure you could too. So let's hear, are there questions about anything I've talked about so far? That's right, the Harvard of the area south of Spokane, north of Northern. This is the part where you can raise your hand, you can unmute. I'm going to keep talking at you, and I will start to make fun of people for either what they're wearing, the background, or the school, or generally the state. Like, just let's make fun of Nebraska. What questions you all have on how to implement this stuff, or questions about recruitment in general? Patrick, you lied. You said they were a talkative bunch. I'm certainly not intimidating them.
David, I've got one.
Yeah, go.
So my chapter lately has had a lot of issues with motivation for brothers coming out to events. We've been noticing a lot of people just not showing up. What can I do to improve that?
First, wait, what school?
Cleveland State University.
It's tough, especially at a campus like yours where people are nowhere near you, or they're, one, you have like 8.5 feet of snow in May, and it's just generally hard to get people to show up. So first, I'd say find out what events, instead of doing events, do activities. So instead of saying, all right, Thursday night, we're having a rush event and everyone's got to be there, you typically have students at your campus, and maybe others too, where guys are working more to be able to pay for school and working during school. They have busier schedules. So instead of saying, hey, rearrange your schedules because I said so on Thursday from 8 to 10, instead say, you as a team, 5 guys, you figure out when to give me 2 hours of hard recruiting this week. So flip it around and give them the responsibility to find 2 hours in their week rather than you expecting them to rearrange their week for you. And make sure they know you're doing that. Make sure you tell them, say, hey, look, I know it's hard to arrange your schedules and to accommodate for me. I'll do this instead. Why don't we do this for you to make it easier for you? You 5 find 2 hours this week. So flip it around. Instead of one big recruitment event, make it recruitment activities. They're also going to have more ownership because the 5 of them are going to pick what they want to do instead of coming to what you want.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, David.
Yeah. What else we got before I go to,
I got a follow-up question.
Yes.
Regarding
Grindon? Where are you?
Grindon. Regarding
What school?
Virginia Tech.
Stop castrating the chicken. Yeah, go ahead.
I was waiting for it. I have a question regarding how do you create these said groups? Like
Teams?
I get the concept of having these groups. How do you create those groups?
Great question. Call Jesse and Byron and Patrick and Hunter and Mitchell and say, congratulations. You've been selected to be a team captain. And it's been hard, man. You went through 3 rounds. It was difficult selection, but you made it. And this is what I need you to do. And you describe the job. Don't have an election. Don't waste your time with that bullshit. Just pick people that are going to be dependable. And let's say you end up having 10 team captains. 8 that are dependable is a huge win. Perfection is the enemy of effectiveness when it comes to teams. You waste more time to get all the effort to get that one team captain not to suck at his job instead of reinvesting in all the others. So pick someone that's dependable. The biggest mistake chapters make, and I'll bet you are these people, they pick the vice president of recruitment who talks the best. Hey, what's up, man? What's up? What's up? They do the best reverse head nod, the fraternity handshake. Sup. And they're the one expected to go recruit everyone. And so fraternities will outsource recruitment to, hey, Tony, go get us some dudes. Sweet. And that's the biggest mistake. VP recruitment should be the clipboard checklist dude. The one who's willing to put his foot in everyone else's butt and say, no, you go talk to that guy. You do this. And that's the best VPR. The one who's going to make sure shit gets done and hold team captains accountable. Good news is the team captains that you pick that are dependable, the guy that was an exec board officer, you just put him in the position. Get him in a room, give him a roster, put them in order of their GPA, and let them have a draft. And they will go through and pick every brother. President all the way down to the newest guy is all on a team. Everybody. And then you have that meeting, you walk into your next chapter meeting and you say, hey, to make recruitment more efficient and to make it easier on your schedules, this is what we've done. We're breaking into teams, we're hunting in wolf packs, and we're going to make it easier. And then you just start. And then if some dipshit's like, wait a minute, do we vote on this? Shut up. We didn't vote on you breathing. You keep doing it. Piss me off. We're bringing it up for vote. And just implement it. You were elected to implement what's best for this chapter. This is it. Good question, Brendan. Weird name, good question. Thank you. What else we got? I want to throw something at you if you're not asking. Let's talk a little about eligibility standards. This cannot be the snowflake theory. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Solid guy. Solid dude. No, you need measurable, clear eligibility standards because they're the ones that are the most appealing to the guys that would meet them. A GPA requirement, a service requirement, an expectation of leadership positions held. What is it that is a key correlator to success as a brother? That needs to be our measurable standards that we put out there. Clear, measurable, and they're exciting. Mountain climbers want to climb mountain. The guy that's going to go climb that mountain's the one that sees it and says, that's a challenge, I'm doing it. Eligibility standards. And what I recommend is you make them really clear and measurable and that you actually have an application for membership. It can be a simple 10, 15-minute Google Doc, a Google form that you create. It could be done so you port information right from the Balanced Man Scholarship. Boom, right into an application. Check the box if you'd like to submit this as an application for membership. Our eligibility standards are, and you make them clear and measurable. They define your values. And they also, that brother's like, he's a good guy, solid guy. We have a great mem dev program. We'll build him into a bullshit. one of our founders, said you can't carve rotten wood. My grandfather said you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. They're both true. One's just a lot more eloquent. Clear, measurable standards that are a likelihood of success as a brother. Not always, but they are certainly a likelihood. What other questions? Come on. Let's bring it. Pat's gonna, listen, you guys don't do this. Pat's not gonna pay me. Come on, let's hear what? He just typed in the chat. You're not paying me anyway? Well, shit. Come on, let's hear. What else we got?
This is Paul Slopeman from South Dakota Alpha. You talked about motivation and recruitment and stuff. Could you talk more about that? And I'd say specifically how to get like introverted people who don't want to go out and communicate and be social with anyone to be motivated to actually step up and take roles in recruitment.
I love that question. Paul. First off, believe it or not, I'm an introvert. Why? Because I don't like people. I like persons. I like hanging out with one person, having a drink, talking, having a great conversation. I love that. I don't like big groups of people. I walk into conclave and I'm like, oh shit. I look for the other white, bald-headed guys like me that have been around, like Steve Channels, buff each other's heads up and then have a bourbon or something. But the introverts in your chapter, it doesn't mean they're not willing to talk to people. It means that they're much more effective in small groups. Those are the guys that'll sit around with a handful of people and play FIFA. And you'd be like, why are you talking smack? That's so not you. But they let themselves out to really be seen. So the teams are the most effective way. And in general, as leaders, let me tell you something I learned a long time ago, actually at another fraternities convention from a speaker. If you want to motivate people, remember 3 S's. Ask them to do something small, something specific, and something significant. Something small, specific, and significant. Small enough that they know they can fit it into their lives. You're not asking them to rearrange their entire schedule. I know it's reasonable what you're asking me. Specific, there's both of us. We have a clear understanding of what success looks like in doing this. I want you to take this guy out to lunch either Thursday or Wednesday of this week and tell me what you think of him. And significant. I know that my effort will make a difference in the organization about which I care so much. So that's why when you have more brothers asking them to do small, specific, significant things, you have more brothers involved in recruiting. So don't ask them. Always hated that. Well, if you could just get one guy to join before you graduate, replace yourself with one. Everybody's like, oh, that's bullshit. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to wander through campus going, meet me, be my friend. Like, it just feels weird. But if you say, I want you to hang out with 3 or 4 other brothers once, twice a month, and with some potential members, just hang out and get to know them every month. I want you to become just someone that's fun in that small group on a regular basis and make them feel comfortable. That's reasonable, and that's a hell of a lot more successful than go out and replace yourself. Something small, specific, and significant. Great question, Paul. What else we got? Come on, let's hear it. I had more coffee than is healthy. So you like, we got to get this going here. I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to tell you something else.
Hello, my name is Alex. I'm at the Washington Gamma at Eastern Washington University. We're a pretty small school, and on top of it, COVID guidelines here in Washington are pretty tough. We're not really able to do anything at all. We have to register all of our events through the school, and they tend to get shut down, except for the virtual ones. I just feel like when we put it out there, guys just don't really respond. I don't think guys respond to the virtual events very well. They would rather do something in person.
Yeah.
So it's been hard to talk to new guys and get potential new members as of late. We've been signing about 3-4 guys a quarter, which keeps us steady. We're only about 30 guys in our chapter, but we're trying to grow as a chapter and fill out the house.
That's not good enough at Eastern. You guys can and should do better. I know. One, you're a good chapter. I mean, you're actually a good bunch of guys. You shouldn't have trouble connecting with other people because you don't have like that one asshole you have to hide in the corner. You just typically don't have that at your chapter. You're generally pretty good guys that get along with people. I think the problem is you're trying to get everyone in the room at the same time instead of everyone in 10 rooms at the same time. So take the one big event idea and boot it, get rid of it. Don't ever do it again. Instead, do small groups because one, that's legal. And two, it's more effective. So get everyone to show up at the house or the brothers and say, okay, now who's doing what? Everyone disperse. So give up the big event and win, and you're still going to stay within the intent and the rules of university guidelines. You're not skirting the rules. You're keeping within the intent as well by staying below certain numbers. Because 4 or 5 guys and 3 or 4 guys going out and getting pizza, if there is pizza to be got, you know, even if you're just, you know, helping out and shoveling a neighbor's path, you got plenty of snow. I mean, you can, you guys can do this stuff in small groups. And the more you think of doing it in small groups, the more effective you're going to be. The piece I want to spend a little bit of time on is the target audience. We got to talk about our wish list. You should have a list between 3 and 4 times the size of your chapter or you're not trying, period. Now, I don't care if the guy is likely to join or not likely to join. That's irrelevant. Do a emoji, do a little hand emoji thing. If you swore at one point or another in your life, you're like, there's no way I'm joining some frat. Do the little hand up thing. Let's see where that is. Let's do the, just curious. If you say, I can't do it for me because I actually did. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Usually some of our, I would say some of our best members, you keep fighting other chapters for this always joiner population, people that know they want to join and come to us. And they were the ones that are looking for a rush event. Some of our best brothers are liars. The guys that are like, I'm never joining, but then become amazing brothers. We need to succeed at recruiting more of those people. And that means they need to be on our list. And I don't care the likelihood of joining if the guy's eligible as in a student. I was just working with a chapter and some smart ass wrote Barack Obama. I'm like, screw you. Like eligible as in goes to our school. You know, I mean, come on. So, but the likelihood of joining is not relevant. Back when I was at Maryland 150 years ago, whenever that was, I got friendly with some guy from Philadelphia who was on the football team. Frank was a great guy, and we just hit it off right away because I was an orientation leader. I told him what classes to avoid, and we hit it off. And the guys in my chapter were like, get a football player, man. It'll be cool. It'll be cool. And then I kept saying, hey, Frank, come on down to wing night. Hey, Frank, we're having an event. Frank, we're having a party. He's like, well, I'm having a party at my suite, and the cheerleaders are going to be there. You want to? Yeah, I'll be there. And I kept trying to get him to come to us. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I'll come play poker with you. Oh, yeah, I'll go to eat with you and some guys. I kept meeting more and more. I got friendly with guys on a football team. Our team was so bad, we would tailgate with players before the games, but that's a whole nother story. But Frank, he was actually interested in joining, and he was curious about it, but I could never get him to know enough guys because I kept trying to get him to come to us. I met another guy, Kevin, who was a walk-on on the football team. This guy was a hustler. He worked hard. He really was a hustler. He busted his ass to get on the football team. And you know what? He also busted his ass to pay for, because he didn't get a scholarship, to pay for everything. And so, you know, he rented a U-Haul and bought roses wholesale at Valentine's Day, filled it, and then got football players selling them for Valentine's Day and made a bunch of money. That actually helped him start up his company. And I never was successful getting Kevin to join or Frank to join because none of my brothers knew them. They never knew my brothers because I kept trying to get him, those 2 guys, to come to us. It was never turned around. And in the middle of the semester, their name was never on a list. And someone said, hey, Stollman, what's going on with those guys? I haven't talked to them in a while. That's right. And you know what? When Frank Wycheck was in the Tennessee Titans in the Super Bowl, I'm sitting there thinking that guy should be my brother. I'd have great seats. And there's another guy that started a little company with some of the money that he sold those flowers, started up some seed money for his company called Under Armour. Oops. Guys that should be my brothers, should be our brothers, but weren't because I kept trying to get them to come to an event and I wasn't smart enough and no one told me to say, hey, why don't you just bring another brother when you go play poker with them? Why don't you bring a couple brothers to lunch with them on campus? Why don't you get out of that nice, comfortable house? Because 80% of recruitment shouldn't happen in that building. It's where you're most comfortable and they're least. And I've seen many of your houses. They're crack houses, man. People don't join because of that house. They join despite that house. It's scary. That's what we got to do is we got to turn this around. We have to become the reason why somebody wants to join that probably never wanted to. And it starts with having their names on that list 3 to 4 times the size of your chapter, or you're not even trying. How are we on time, Pat? What does that mean? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? What do you want?
A few minutes. Yeah, a few minutes.
Okay, good. So we have time for one more question. I want to make sure that we get to somebody's question.
I'll go ahead and ask one. My name is Hunter Cowdery. I'm from the North Dakota Alpha chapter at the University of North Dakota. My chapter, it was on the decline in the recent years, and now we're finally growing and on the incline now, and had a lot of success. But that has resulted in all of our members putting in a tremendous amount of work in terms of recruitment and stuff like that. I guess how can this team system that you speak about be successful in terms of motivating overworked members? And if so, what aspects of the system need to be present in order for that to be done?
So the other piece of the team structure that I recommend, and I think it's going to help them feel more comfortable, is that one, everybody's expected to do one thing per week for recruitment. Once you have that wish list set and the likelihood of somebody joining doesn't keep that name off the list, you ask every single brother to do one thing per week with someone on the wish list. They may put someone on the wish list that never joins. I don't care. You want to play Smash? Great. If it's nice enough to go play basketball, fantastic. Study with the guy, wonderful. But every single brother does one thing per week. It's reasonable. I don't care how busy you are, it's reasonable. And when you break it into teams so that there's that one thing per week I do individually, and then the team does one thing every other week, but I get to pick when I do it, and I get involved in the group that decides what we do, it's empowering. And then it just becomes fun because I get to pick something I want to do. So I find that these are very motivating. Will you still have look, y'all have brothers that are so lazy they wouldn't roll over if they were on fire. Okay. I know that. And I know sometimes you want to reach for matches. Okay. You're always going to have that. Okay. Some will, some won't. So what? Work with those that will, and you will succeed. The average chapter, 5 to 10% of the average chapter's membership actively recruits. It means it's VP recruitment, 2-3 other guys. That's it. If you get the team captains, you're about 20% of your chapter actively doing this. If they get just one guy on their team doing this, you're at 40% carrying the weight. Don't look for perfection. We tried teams didn't work. Why? We had one team that sucked. Yeah, but you had 8 that were great. Work with those that will. Some won't. So what? You can go bald pulling your hair out, dealing with guys that won't. Or you can work with the few or even more than few that will, and you will succeed. And what's best is then the guys that actually take effort become the reason why someone joins. And the dipshit that's lazy has no say and no influence. It's a win. I want to make sure I give the right time back to Pat before he trades me off to another fraternity. I know there's been threats before. I don't think they get much more than a houseplant, but I will put Pike. Yeah, they definitely don't. I will put my email address in the chat log. I will try. I am happy to be a resource to you, brothers. I do this because I believe in what you do. Okay. I've been a volunteer in different ways because I believe in Sigma Phi Epsilon. I believe there is no better experience for a man to become a better man than what we do when we do what we do right. I truly believe in that. And I'm proud to call you my brothers, and I'm proud to be a resource to you in any way that I can be.